questionable.
Hello and welcome to The Well. I'm your host, Dr. Brendan Arm, doctor of acupuncture and oriental medicine, Chinese medicine herbalist, and founder-director of Lotus Integrative Medicine in Santa Monica, California. There's a wealth of health-related information out there, and I'm joined today by this wonderful group of integrative and holistic medical doctors and practitioners to share some of our favorite wellness tips. Please let me introduce you to Bianca Rodriguez, a holistic psychotherapist, Dr. Heath McAllister, a naturopathic doctor and registered herbalist, Leona West, a clinical nutritionist and herbalist, also trained and certified in functional medicine, and Dr. Rob Krochmal, a medical doctor and a practicing physician who is board certified in family medicine, nutrition, and integrative and holistic medicine. So let's begin. Today's topic is Monster Halloween Mishmash.
I think that's a testament to the fact that we've just spent 10 minutes trying to figure out what we should talk about and that we couldn't really come to an agreement, because I think that there is so much going on in the world with the election only a few days away that we're feeling a lot ourselves, and I think we're seeing a lot of different things going on in the clients that we serve. So serve it up, people. What are you thinking?
Where to begin? I've had like a bunch of people coming in stressed out, high anxiety, insomnia, totally exhausted, digestive issues, and they're all wrapped up related to stress. For me, I just, I try to get into nature. I think that's my big one. I try to get to the ocean, or I try to get into the mountains. Anything to help relax, a deep warm shower, try to get off media and just read like a book with my family or by myself. I don't know, the list goes on and on.
Nature.
Yeah, Brendan, I remember you telling me last time about how you read a lot of Danielle Steele when you're really stressed out, and I think that's really admirable that you can admit that in public.
My favorites, personal favorites.
I would say that stress is ever present. I mean, it's ever present. Since I've been in practice, it's been over 10 years. Stress is like a component of everybody's pathology. I tell everybody, they're like, "Oh, do you think it's stress, doc? Is what I'm experiencing stress?" And I always say, stress makes everything worse. So no matter what you've got going on, Dr. Rob was just talking about how he had a patient that had a flare of hyperthyroid due to stress, right? Viral infections can come out, like herpes, in fact, come out when you're stressed. Everything gets worse in stress. Because what stress does to the body is it puts you in fight or flight mode, which is a survival state to just keep you barely alive, but it's not helping you thrive and be your best version of yourself. So I do think that stress management is something we all have to do, whether it's exercise, mindfulness. I know that sounds scary for a lot of people, but really, by having quiet time and allowing the subconscious mind to discharge, you really cleanse out those nagging thoughts that are in the back of your mind, and it allows you deeper sleep, and it allows you to be more present in your current life and not be mentally multitasking as much. So I do think that for people that have never tried mindfulness, just type in mindfulness practices into YouTube, see what comes up, and try a few of them. We all need to have stress management. It's one of the legs of the table that make our foundation secure. I would like to say, because Halloween's coming up, that while candy, we all know candy's bad for you, and some of the ways it's bad for you is because it suppresses your immune system. But I would like to highlight the benefits of pumpkin pie. Pumpkin pie, did you know, is rich in vitamin A and carotenoids, and pumpkin seeds are very rich in zinc. So while candy might not be great, eat that pumpkin.
And you can find more on McAllisterpumpkinpie.org, right?
I'm going to buy it.
Me first.
Well, you know what? I was just posting some recipes and some of my I love going to the farmer's market in the fall. I love all the fall foods. And I was just posting some stuff over social media this week. I was roasting some kabocha squash. It's Japanese pumpkin, and it's my favorite squash. And I was also talking about how I use all the different fall herbs. So, thyme, oregano, sage, rosemary, marjoram, like all of these herbs, of course they can be year round too, but we tend to incorporate them more in fall dishes. And that's not just for flavor, it's also for how it tonifies the immune system, the antimicrobial, antiviral properties of those, the respiratory tonifying support of a lot of those herbs. So whether it's the vitamin A and the C and squash, even winter squash has some omega-3s in it. So, so for those properties, as well as all the culinary herbs that really tonify our immune system, the things that we take for granted that we often think is just has a culinary purpose, it has, that food as medicine purpose too, to your point, Keith, about the squash.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Rob, what are you seeing in your life, in your world?
Well, I was going to add, yeah, that as far as stress goes, I mean, a lot of patients at least come to me as a medical doctor, intuitively knowing that it probably stress is maybe probably even the primary component of how they're feeling, but just wanting to know is it not this or it's not that, like, and I think because I'm so thorough and because I kind of have my foot in both worlds, I think I can be often I find myself just being very reassuring, like, here's what's going on with your labs, and here's maybe some things that are happening, but yes, like, it is the most important thing to focus on stress, and that just kind of is relieving in its own way to know, what is the most important thing to prioritize. So then the other thing I would add is that, in that same regard, like, a lot of what I enjoyed doing is really just kind of reflecting and kind of helping my patients understand what's going on. So to Dr. Arm's point, a lot of people are suffering from gut problems. That can be a chicken or the egg kind of a thing. So is the gut causing stress? There's the gut-brain connection, or is stress coming from the gut? And a lot of time, I think, besides getting into nature, which is a great advice, I'm always, really encouraging my patients to, seize the opportunity to have a healthier diet. And a lot of our dietary practices can lead to gut issues, and then stress can often take it over the edge. So I just had a patient recently who really doesn't have a lot of psychological issues, but is experiencing like extreme panic attacks that come and go. And we worked through a lot of things, and basically came to the conclusion that that the gut just became inflamed. And so making some dietary changes has helped a lot, just with the stress.
I think the gut is actually the true seat of the soul. I think the gut's where your immune system lives. The gut's where most of your serotonin gets produced. The gut is like, if the gut's happy, it's like if mama's happy, everybody's happy. Well, that's the gut. If your gut is unhappy, all of your other tissues suffer. And in naturopathic medicine, we always used to talk about supporting the liver and supporting the liver. Really, it's supporting the gut. I mean, yes, you support the liver because the liver is like the pool filter of your body, but like the gut is the core of your body is your gut. Nothing else will be happy. And that's most of what I would say. Most of what I do in practice is making sure first that the gut is happy and healthy, and there's no inflammation leading from it, and you're eating the right kind of nourishing foods, and so much surrounding the gut that mostly after I've treated the gut, everything else falls in the line naturally on its own. And if not, I can do some fine tuning here or there, but I rarely would ever just pick another organ system to lead with. And it's the primary system we all have to take on as doctors.
I love that you said, though, that the gut is is like the seat of the soul, because we also know, right? People we described as like having a gut feeling, having this intuitive hit, and I work with people that, have a lot of stuff going on with anxiety. And a lot of the time when we're working, somatically getting people in their body, they really feel the anxiety right? It's like having butterflies or feeling like your stomach's turning over. It really sits so much in the stomach. Now, how would a person know, though, that they're having issues with their gut? Because, having experienced sort of traditional Western medicine and then working with holistic folks, in the way that you guys work. I feel like, do you feel like a lot of the time doctors might miss that? Like, what is
Oh
what
yeah.
test
Oh
people
yeah.
ask for?
Oh
Like,
yeah. I mean, gastroenterologists don't even think that your diet has anything to do with your gut health, like
Hmm.
generally. And like, the
that's
microbes that might be
that's
living
how
there might not be having anything to do with it. And even elementary things like my kids the other day, we made them some food. They didn't want to eat it. And so my son was just literally swallowing the soup. And he's like, is it okay to do this? And I was like, yeah, but the reason we chew is to increase the absorptive, the surface area of the food. So when it washes over the shag carpeting that is our intestinal villi, you absorb the maximum amount of that substance. And so like everything, there's not a lot of great education on what really makes your gut happy and healthy. Everybody, basically almost everybody that comes into me has some issue with their gut, just like they have some issue with their energy and their sleep, like across the board. Almost across the board, someone
Very,
has
very
gas or
common, for
bloating or
sure.
constipation or diarrhea or something.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's like, um, there's so many thoughts I have on the subject. I know we all do. But from like a Chinese perspective, the nervous system, you know, can really deplete the energy of the digestion. The thought is that, you know, if the digestion is strong, then you can break down the food into energy that you can use for all kinds of things in the body. If the digestion is weak, then you don't really break down the food well into energy. And so you start getting like really tired, or you get like this heaviness feeling, or, difficulty concentrating, because also in Chinese medicine, besides the digestion governing the immune system, and the digestion also governs the mind. So when the digestion is strong, then the mind is sharp. So you're right, it's like the chicken and egg. So if the mind is stressed out and the mind isn't sharp, then the digestion gets weak. But if the digestion gets weak, then the mind also gets weak. Um, I think to help with the digestion, one of the first things we think about is, giving people easy to digest foods. So like soups and stews and slow cooked foods like that, and kind of avoiding a lot of raw food or a lot of cold food. Those are just a couple of thoughts.
Well,
But
I would
what
say,
about like this? I want to know also like the psychotherapy perspective on like the digestion. Bianca, like what are you working with your clients
Ooh,
on these
well,
days?
I have to tell you, and then Leona, I'll let you jump in there. I feel like, right, digestion has to do with digesting, right? And so if I think about the way that a person digests thoughts and feelings, I feel like, right, if we talk about the mind and the gut having a connection, I often find that people that are having a lot of digestive issues may psychologically, spiritually be having difficulty digesting thoughts, feelings, traumas, experiences that they've had. So I usually try to help people sort of put that stuff kind of on the table so that we can kind of externalize it and then look at it and see. So all my work has to do with mental digestion.
Mhm.
Leona, what were you going to say?
oh yeah, I had a few thoughts, but I think the main one is how important it is. If someone comes to me for low energy or weight loss, those are two really common themes. We start with the gut, to Heath's earlier point, and instead of focusing on energy or focusing on weight loss, focus on gut, and then energy's back back into balance, and the weight just comes off. So it's so true, even from a functional medicine and functional nutrition standpoint, the gut truly is the seat, and so much balance in the body can be brought back through leading with the gut, for sure.
One thing I
Yeah.
wanted to add in there was that, we're moving into the fall winter, where there's a lot more dark or night hours. And I think one of the things that's going to be one of the benefits of COVID is I think people are ending up, because of COVID, not going out or staying out as late. Because I think especially during the season of the fall and winter, getting to bed nice and early is another thing that will really support mental health or digestive health. From Chinese perspective, if you start going to sleep after 11 p.m., you're starting to move into these two organs called the liver and gallbladder. And if you're awake instead of asleep during those hours, like after 11 p.m., then the nervous system starts to, to put it simply, just starts to get fried. So, getting to bed earlier, I think would be also indirectly really helpful for the nervous system too, and digestion as well.
That's great. Yeah, you just brought up another one. I was going to say that it's such a fascinating digestion, such a fascinating topic, and I know Bianca, you brought up earlier before were recording the concept of leaky gut and what that means. So I think it would be great to dive into that. Maybe some of our viewers can give us feedback, but dive into that as a topic for future shows. And sleep, I know we've touched on that as well, but diving into that in a deeper way would be really great.
Both of those are such big topics. They're so important. And you know, speaking of pandemics, those are two pandemics that are haunting a lot of you know, a lot of the world right now. You know, speaking of Halloween.
So we're telling people stay tuned because we're going to talk about their leaky guts and we're going to talk about sleep more next time we all get together.
Give us your feedback, more topics.
Well, that's all the time we have today. If you have a topic you'd like to learn more about, let us know with a comment on social media. And also don't forget to subscribe to the Well YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us, and please join us next time for more wellness tips. Remember, regardless of where we are, our resources in the Well are limitless.